Do you wanna know what's going round? See what's the talk of the town on Real Talk on the radio today.
And welcome to Real Talk Radio 97.5 FM. This is KDW Radio 97.5, live from the beautiful city of Northport, Florida, the Emergecy Broadcasting Network of the city of Northport. And a special shout out to Remax Palm Realty for sponsoring our mobile or our tower. Remax Palm, thank you so much for your donation towards our station. And as a nonprofit organization, we appreciate any and all donations that can help us continue to bring broadcasting to the citizens of Northport and the surrounding communities of our great area. I've got a very special guest in the house, our city manager, Mr. Jerome Fletcher from the city of Northport. How you doing there, Chief?
Mr. Rawlings, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I am sitting up in the great state of Indiana. Just to give an update to the listening audience, my son, John Rawlings, graduated this year from Kent State University and is now the technical director for Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. So we're up here trying to help get things grounded, so to speak. My granddaughter is super excited about going to school. Just a little tidbit of information on that too. I didn't know that before I got here, but Ball State University took over the school program in Muncie, Indiana. So Ball State is in control of K preschool that they offer here in the school system, all the way through college.
Wow.
For all these students in this wonderful little city. So I kind of get goosebumps a little bit because I think that's a really cool thing. And I'm looking forward to what their version of connecting parents to education means, because it seemed to be hot and heavy all over it. So just a really cool thing to share out with you guys. So I understand that your daughter also started college this year, and you're kind of super excited in being a dad in that adventure, aren't you?
Yeah, we drop her off on August 21st. So she's not gone yet, but she's counting the days. So it'll be different, but we're excited for her and happy for her future.
Awesome. So we've got a lot happening within the city of Northport. Can you kind of give us a quick overview of what's going on and kind of kick us off into what I think will be some good Q&A, but some really cool conversations we're going to have?
So I'll give you a few topics for us to touch on and just briefly hit them. So the first thing I think everyone knows about is her tropical storm Debbie that came through, that turned into a hurricane once it left us. And, now we're at the point where we are watching the water levels and making sure that when the creek rises and crests, that we have the proper people in place and processes in place to deal with that. So we actually have opened the county opened an evacuation center for those who need it over at Woodmere Park. And we are activating our EOC to a level 2 on tomorrow in preparation of what may happen on Saturday. So that's the overview of Debbie. And then the UODC got passed this week. So, it was a very important and a heavy lift for our development services team, and very proud of them and all the countless hours and efforts that they put into that. The hospitals are moving forward with their planning processes. SMH is doing good, and they have work done on their master plan for their full service and acute care hospitals with 250 plus people coming. Northport University kicked off last night. That's our first free 8-week Citizens Academy course, where it's very interactive with city government, and we help build and develop future leaders and keep them well informed. So hopefully we can have a commissioner pipeline come out of that university of those who want to give back and serve their community. And then the referendum and just engagements, just talking about the referendum as much as we can to make sure that people know and understand how important it is and how it's how they need to get educated so they can make their own decision, but just making it with the right information. So high level overview of, yes, a lot going on.
So I'm gonna dive right in on a couple hot topics that I want to address with Debbie, being part of this whole water level control. Validate me on this. We do lower our canals prior to a major storm. Yes or no?
That would be yes.
Do we have regulations in place because of state guidelines that we can only lower it to a certain level without damaging wildlife? Correct.
Yes. I mean, as you can imagine, there's going to be compliance with regulations and
Yep.
just about everything that the government does. But, you know, and believe it or not, in this case, we got over 7 inches of rainfall. And, you know, Public Works is always, you know, constantly trying to work to make sure that the drainage system works right by removing debris and blockages and, you know, protecting our swells and retention ditches. But it was the north part of the county that actually got more rain and was more impacted than we did. And what they went through over the last 3 to 4 days has been a very heavy lift for them. And we actually were able to send our resources to the county for a change and help them out in their time of need. So that's what you call a role reversal down here. And now we're just planning on being prepared in case the flooding does happen and crest over the creek to a way that we need to react to.
So the listening audience that's out there, keep in mind that the misinformation that the citizens are continuing to repeat, which is the city never lowers the canals enough. The city never takes a storm seriously. Mr. Fletcher, is that bogus or is that an accurate statement?
Well, we know it's inaccurate for them to think that we don't do anything and we don't have the proper internal controls to make sure that we can do the best by the city. The city is, and I keep hearing this and keep having to say this, you know, we have to remember where we live and where we are and what our city was built on and what the state was built on. And by knowing that, we still have to do the best that we can to make sure that we protect the most people and make the living conditions the best that we can for the most people. So we're always going to try to continue to do better. We're always going to try to make our structures better. But, you know, we have to deal with this particular situation in our area of the country where we live at, and we try to do it better each time that we are experiencing it.
And I'm going to jump right into the ULDC. First question, was that a needed document to have happen? Yes or no? Yes.
So our prior ULDC was at least over 10 years old, and it was not in alignment with state and federal laws. And there was a lot of contradictory situations in our ULDC. And we had to go in and basically clean that up. And when you go in and you clean that up, you are making the city and our future to be in the best position for success as we follow those development regulations to not only improve the commercial footprint of the city from the 8 to 10% that it's at now to roughly 25% that we need to get to. We're taking steps in the right direction. You want the growth. We all want the growth that the city is experiencing to be responsible and grow in a way that allows us to maximize our best potential. And that means having, in addition to commercial, we want to make sure that we have the different infrastructure and roads and everything to take care of what we need. So it was a pretty big deal to have the ULDC pass. And I'm very proud of Director Ray and Lori Barnes and her team who all helped put in a lot of work on it.
So I'm going to kind of reverse this a little bit. Was the old ULDC the perfect plan for every citizen?
No.
Is the new ULDC going to be the perfect plan for every citizen?
No.
Is the new ULDC going to be adjustable as we find things in it that need to be addressed?
Yes.
So in saying all of these things, we didn't have a good ULDC before. We don't have the perfect ULDC now, but would you say that the working document that we are adapting in to our system with the new ULDC, is that something that's going to be a better fit for the majority of the citizens in our city?
It most certainly will, but I get where you're going, and I get the understanding, and I know that people are always going to say that what they don't want in their backyard, and what we heard on Tuesday, well, it's not in your backyard, so you don't care. The entire city is our backyard, so we care about all of it, not just the people who showed up in that audience that night, but we care about the other 90,000 some odd people in the city that didn't show up, and that's what this job is doing the best for the most people. So we're always going to make sure that we try to stay ahead of problems and create more situations that are beneficial for the quality of life for everyone in the city. And when you do those things, that means you're changing things, and people have a resistance to change. It's human nature, but we're not going to stop doing the things that this city needs and that we should be prepared for, because when we do, if something goes wrong, someone's going to say, well, you should have done it anyway. So right. there's not a win there for everyone, and we try to make sure that we explain everything that we do and the rationale behind it. Most of the time, the commission agrees with what we say, and sometimes they don't, and then we have to figure out something in the middle when they're not satisfied because we work for them and they don't work for us. So it's an ever evolving process, but I'm grateful that the commissioners did pass this ULDC, something that was much needed in this city and long overdue.
As we go through all of the processes with the ULDC, talk a little bit about how things will adjust as the new ULDC is implemented. What's the process now for adjusting something that we find in the ULDC that is addressed that needs to be modified?
Well, the ULDC now will go into effect I think it's on October 28th of this year, based on the time that's from when it was passed and adopted by the commission until it gets to the final processes. So the main thing you're going to see is a new zoning map with zoning districts that have been discussed publicly so that we could better segment our city for the growth that we need. We also want a more efficient development process. We want to make sure that the people who have the pain points of dealing with our city and our code, those are gone. And you add that on to a new technology system called Acela that should be launching in December. And those two things together are going to have a really, really good effect on each other. Part of the other things that you're going to see and that's going to happen are enhanced environmental protection regulations to balance some of the urban development and the preservation of land. We continue to say this, and a lot of people have heard us, and I'm grateful for the feedback that we've gotten from our efforts for the Natural Resource Division, again, under Elena Ray's leadership. And you have to care about the environment where you live. And even if you're changing the environment that people see out of their front door, we have to let them know and guide them to places that what they came here for, if they want to see the trees and the beauty, it is still here. It just may not be where it used to be.
And you brought up trees and beauty. We have a tree fund that actually is doing some re-nourishing of a parcel over by the dog park that is slated to begin soon. I don't know that we have a specific date, but we're addressing some parcels now that the city owns to reduce the maintenance side of it by bringing in trees and beautification that way, and giving some wildlife areas back to the citizens, aren't we?
Yeah, and I guess we should be very clear. The city is nowhere near where it wants to be as it relates to how we want to beautify the city and how we want to make sure that you could go all the way back to even before Ian, but I'll start with Ian. The trees that got damaged in Ian, and replacing trees and making sure that we have areas that people can go and appreciate the beautiful nature that we have here. So I think what we did was we acknowledged the challenge and the problem by going out and finding a solution. Now we need to work that solution throughout the city. And what our citizens should see is look at the level of effort that they're putting toward things that we have voiced our opinion about for a year, or if not multiple years, and look, at least they're doing something. I think that people we weren't doing anything, and now we're doing it, and now they want instant gratification of it being done tomorrow. And it just doesn't work that way. We need them to be patient by knowing that we're dedicated to the outcome.
So we've got a couple events coming up this week. We've got a candidate forum that will be held at the Shannon Staub Library August 13th at 6 p.m. If you would like to pre-register for your, and it is required to pre-register for your seat, team northportcan, CAN, at gmail.com. Team northportcan at gmail.com to reserve your seats. It will also be broadcast live on Real Talk and WKDW Radio Facebook pages. So you can join us there. Type in, if you're listening on the radio, type in John Rawlings Real Talk on the search bar, or KDW Radio on your search bar, and go to the Facebook page of the radio station and you can watch it live. We will be broadcasting that. We will also be broadcasting on Thursday live from the American Legion Northport Forward and the event that's out there to educate the citizens on what's happening within the citizens, give an overview, and of course do what we do here, which is also a nice Q&A, not just from our city manager Jerome Fletcher, but staff. And can you kind of highlight the meaning of that from a city manager point of view and the staff point of view back to the citizens?
Yeah, I'll touch on both of them. First of all, let me say the candidate forum, people just need to exercise their right to vote. They need to make sure they stay plugged in and tuned in to what the candidates are saying and what their direction and vision for this city is. The city is going on a great trajectory right now based on everything that we've done and what we have planned. So, that momentum is very important to our future, but people need to exercise their right to vote however they vote. As it relates to the Northport Forward, we are very fortunate to have Northport Forward as a partner, and we share the same outcome of getting factual information out to the public and answering a lot of questions based on misinformation that is out in the public. And that's just because there's a lot of different channels and tools for people to get information from. It's hard to keep it all sort of together when you have that many different voices out there. So we like to drive and direct people to the voice that is what we are promoting as factual evidence. And if they have questions, they're allowed to ask us those questions and challenge what we're saying and come to different points of agreement, or you might have to say we agree to disagree. But this is what citizen transparency, accountability looks like, being involved and out in the public, in the community, and for community engagement, and exercising your right to vote. These are all things that go together as it relates to making sure that you have good governance.
And getting involved in groups and participating, social media aspects of things, the Northport Forward shows like this that we do at KDW Radio, trying to get information out. Those are all great forums. What would be your advice to citizens who count on singularly social media to guide their process on things that are happening within the city? Would you suggest something different than just social media?
No, I don't. It's not social media. Social media is the vehicle. Social media is not the problem. The problem is if you're looking at social media and you're using it and you look around and the people around you are doing nothing but complaining about what's going wrong and never have any solutions or actually any action to move to fix those problems. Why would you want to be in an environment where everything is just so broken and negative, but yet you still want to be here and live in this city? Do something about it. Make some change. Join a board. Get involved. Get active. Come out. Have productive relationships. Have productive outcomes. But to sit there and just be around people who share a negative viewpoint or temperature of the city, that's not a positive way to live. So I just think that the people who like to use social media because it's convenient or they get to express their voices, that's fine. But do it in a way that is productive and meaningful and not something that just, makes people unhappy overall.
So if a citizen had an idea or a thought process or wanted to discuss things more in depth, and maybe they wanted to schedule an appointment with you, is it hard to do?
No, it's not hard to do. You just have to reach out and let us know, and we will work through it with our team and, figure out the best time, to meet. But we're there, we're open, we're available.
So would a citizen's first contact be targeted through City Hall going through you, or would it be City Hall going through a commissioner, one of the sitting commissioners?
To meet with me?
Not just you, but maybe to get an issue resolved, or just start discussion on certain things.
So there's two different pathways you can choose. The commissioners are our policy leaders. They are there to make sure that they project the vision of the city, and that's why they have their meetings and they pass policy. The city manager's office, we are directly related for the day-to-day operations of the city. So if there's something that is bothering them on that side, whether it's public works, whether it's police, whether it's fire, those are the things that I'm over in my day-to-day role. So it kind of depends on what they're trying to get to, the door that they should go in. Right. Policy, all the 5 commissioners you can email them, call them, they're available and we'll respond to you. And if you need something from myself or my team, you can reach out to, Anna Duffy through our office or call our main number and we'll get you what you need as well. And if it's something you want to report just as an issue that needs to be fixed or a problem, then we have our North Report app where you can go in online, take a picture or make your comments. We'll open up a ticket right then and there on the spot. And then that way we can communicate through, technologies to make it the fastest and most manageable way to respond to you, because it shouldn't matter who you know to get the result that you need. You don't have to know the mayor. You don't have to know the city manager. I know I got a problem and that's enough. So let me get to something that can get it fixed. And we should execute on everyone's issue as if they are the most important person. It does not matter who you know. It should not matter who you know.
Right. It does help if you know someone. At least go ahead.
It helps if your first normal method does not help you. As I tell people, if you want something done for this operation of the city, it needs to come through the city staff. If we don't respond to you or we don't fix your issue, then by all means, you should elevate it up to a commissioner and say, hey, Mr. Jerome said he was going to do this. He didn't do it. What is the deal? And then we have to explain why or what we do anything. But if something starts in their office that is operational in nature and then comes down to us, you just added another step to the process that could potentially delay the process.
Right. So I do have one comment on the ULDC, and it's from Robin San Vicente. Thank you, Robin. We shouldn't have to adjust or readjust certain aspects of the ULDC regarding land restrictions. The commission should have and must listen to the people and their property rights and the rights to quiet enjoyment. Factual statement.
I was adding here a question in there.
Is that a question? It's a statement.
Right. I'm not saying I agree with her statement, and I would love to see her resume so I can see how she's a subject matter expert on this in order to question people who are accredited subject matter experts. And to put that on the commission has to make the best decision they can with the information that they have. It doesn't mean that they can't reserve the right to change their mind or change the policy at a later point in time. But what they did this week was in the best interest of this entire city to move it forward, and they should be applauded for it, not criticized for it.
Okay. So if you have a question on specific topic with ULDC, put it up and I'll go back to it. But I'm going to move forward now, and I want to talk about what a really hot topic, which is the referendum, and I think that's probably one of the hottest and I think the most misunderstood topics that are out there. So can you kind of give an overview of the importance of the referendum, and then I'll post some questions that I have.
Sure. So the referendum, the importance of it lies with the history of the city. The city is 65 years old. We do not have the ability to borrow or incur debt like other cities and municipalities in the state of Florida. They all do, but we do not. And it's just because we never changed our charter. But the age of the city now has gotten to the point now where we need it for our infrastructure, our water control structures, our bridges. And we need to be able to borrow in a quickly manner based on our credit rating and our ability to pay back said borrowing. It's the same way if you were going to buy a house or a car, you wouldn't save up for the entire amount and then go and get it, which is what we have been doing as a pay-as-you-go city. It's not sustainable. And now we're at the point where we need over $1 billion in infrastructure needs over the course of the next 10 to 15 years. And we have to be able to manage the money and borrow it and pay it back over time. That allows people who are moving to Northport to share in the improvements that we're making to make this city the place that we want to stay in and the place that they want to be in. If we have another hurricane the way that we had with Ian, we would not have the financial strength in order to respond to it in the same way, because we're still waiting on money to come back from Hurricane Ian. And we know that takes time, whether it's FEMA or the state, they're helping us, but it does take time, and that's just a fact. So what we need to do is be able to take care of ourselves. And you asked for the ability to borrow City of Northport at a time where it's not really popular for any citizen to give the government any more authority, which is why you put guardrails in place. You put internal controls, external controls, our financial advisor, debt management policy. You put things in place to say, okay, we're going to hold you accountable. And then you put caps on the borrowing that you asked for, only for natural disaster recovery, also for public safety and health issues, capped at $15 million per attempt. We capped those requests because the people said that's what you needed to do in order to get it approved. So every time I hear, well, you're not listening, you don't listen, I can give you multiple examples of times that we've listened to the public and changed what we wanted or what we did from what we heard from the community. So it's very important. We can't let the city fail. We're not going to let the city fail. So if this fails in November, then we're going to have to take extra measures in order to take care of the city, which means most likely going through the state, which will be a more painful process for everyone involved, including our taxpayers.
So I'm kind of going to ask you a question when it comes to being able to have a referendum that you can borrow money from and possibly obtain matching funds because of that. Are there situations that on the financial side will benefit the citizens because we have this in place?
Yeah, so during, and well, I guess after Hurricane Ian, the governor set up low to no interest loans that they made available through the state, and we couldn't take advantage of it because we couldn't get the borrowing of it done in the first place for those loans. So when you don't have the ability to take advantage of programs that the governor and the state would say, well, it works for 99% of the people, we can't make an exception for you. You need to become part of the 99% and make sure that you're managed properly. It all boils down to, what level of trust you have in your government. And agreed, it's not very high right now, not only in the city, but in the country. But if you look at the body of work that we've done for the last 3 years here, we continue to defend ourselves against those who think that we are doing things that deserve mistrust, and we'll continue to do that. We continue to work hard every single day to be transparent and give the people of the city what they need so they can feel as comfortable as they can be with their local government.
So in the last 3 years, have we raised our millage rate?
We have not. Did I want to raise it? I most certainly did.
I know you did.
Well, let me explain that. Let me explain that.
No, I agree with you, and I want you to explain it.
Right. It sounds bad on face value, but my point is, I don't want to have to bring to our commission a double-digit raise in millage because we did not see what was coming down the pipeline. It is our job to have a financial forecast that allows us to be proactive instead of reactive. So if you were able to manage it in smaller increments that were relatively not impactful to someone's budget, I think that citizen would care a lot more than you raising it double digits, saying, okay, well, now we got to raise it up. The economic development analysis and the fiscal condition analysis that we have tasked our financial advisors, PFM, with, that they're going to provide us by the end of this calendar year, should show that roadmap of what the growth that we have in the city and the needs that we'll have from a millage rate standpoint. And you combine those together, and then that will help us determine our next steps of action.
So one could say that this sitting commission has taken on some unbelievable tasks that needed to be addressed. The ULDC the widening of Price Boulevard, the referendum, the police headquarters, all these things that are out there that they are forecasting that a lot of past commission didn't address. And how would you look at that collectively as the unit at City Hall addressing the major issues of Northport?
So the first thing I would say, John, is that when I look back at what wasn't done that should have been done, it doesn't matter why it wasn't done. I believe that the people who sat in my chair before me and the ones who sat in the commissioner chairs before them, they did the best that they could with the information they had at the time. There's no need to go back and second guess. There's a challenge everywhere, every year. So I don't think that's fair to go back and sort of point that finger. But what I would do and say is that this commission and the legacy projects that they have taken on and not shied away from, and I mean some severely unpopular topics, we have been able to make some traction on those topics and keep them moving, as we know that we're trying to get to a solution for them all. And what we need to do is say, look, hey, how far have you come, and look at where you're going, as opposed to saying, well, here they go again, doing something that I don't like. Question the why. Why are we doing this? Why is the ULDC important? Why is Warren Middle Springs important? Why is widening Price Boulevard important? You know, these things, and, you know, the borrowing authority, why is that important? If we can all agree that the outcome that we want is the betterment of this city and it's to reach its maximum potential, then we can disagree on how to get there all day long, but we have to agree on the outcomes together as a community.
Right. So I've got a question from Jerome, or from Sean Kirkpatrick. Hey, Sean, when you get to the referendum question discussion, how many $15 million emergency projects would the city be allowed to borrow for at one time? So this is multiple things and multiple questions, because it kind of couples in with the same question that Robin had. Is there a guardrail in place now for how many $15 million projects?
Well, there's two answers to that. The first answer is you can only borrow what you are fiscally able to reflect that you can pay back. The bank is not going to let you borrow $15 million projects if you can only pay back 3. It doesn't make sense. They're a bank, and they're a fiduciary, just like they are with us as they are with you. But the real answer to this question, what I will say, Sean, is that's part of what's going to go into the debt management policy. When you create the debt management policy, they can have thresholds in there that will allow them not to go over what they decide how many they want to borrow. But at the core of the question, you cannot borrow more than you can afford to pay back.
And another question from Ginger Miranda. Hi, Ginger. Can City Manager Fletcher talk about the current condition of the water control structures and maintenance needs? Would the ability to borrow help? ?
Yeah, so the conditions of our water control structures, they're 65 plus years old, and they are just aging, and, you know, you don't want them to fail. So we, in our budget, we can put in 1, maybe 2 a year at $4 million each through our public works department. But what you need, and what the borrowing would do and how it would help, is it would allow us to, instead of taking the next 60 years to replace all of the ones that we have, you could replace it in a much shorter time frame. But you still have to balance how many can be built in 1 year. You still have to balance what is the impact of that borrowing and how is it going to affect our citizens and our taxpayers. It's just not an easy process to say, oh, well, we know they all need to be replaced. Let's go out and do them all tomorrow. Even if we get the borrowing authority, there still has to be a financial responsibility that allows us to manage the city, keep people safe and well, and still balance our budget at the same time. The borrowing authority is not going to just allow us to have free reign on incurring debt. It just means that the things that we need the debt to pay for can be done in a more fiscally responsible and expedited way.
And one of the things that Robin's been asking me to do, which is, I tell you, it's hard to pull together, is like a debate, a discussion. Maybe I could pull off a healthy discussion on the the uh, the citizens' perspective of um, the budget, the budget, the dollar side of things, even the referendum, to kind of get the citizens. I need citizens participation from both sides. I can't have a open discussion with everybody that's just wanting to trash the referendum and I'm looking for suggestions, Robin. So if you've got somebody out there that you would suggest that's not a city representative that wants to take the city point of view, because I know that you're not 100% on the city side with the referendum. There, fair and balanced means I have to be able to have both sides. And while I'm doing that with City Manager Fletcher on here right now, you guys are actually involved because you're asking the questions. So we're kind of having a small debate over it right now. But get with me. I appreciate that comment. Get with me and we'll figure that out. Will the debt policy be available for the citizenry to examine prior to their referendum vote?
There's a draft of the debt management policy online right now. If you go to our website and you click on the yellow banner at the top, it will take you to the home page for the referendum. There is a draft policy under the educational toolkit on the website right now. The commissioners have just submitted their feedback to that draft policy as of yesterday. And on September 9th, when they come back from recess, the financial advisors and ourselves and our commissioners will be discussing adding and reviewing their feedback so that the next draft can be done so they can move closer to adopting a final draft prior to the election on November the 5th.
You know, I was, while I'm up here in Muncie, Indiana, there's some really cool things happening. And I talked about that briefly at the beginning of the show, but I had a discussion with a couple residents here that I just met and told them what we do as far as the city communications out, social media stuff. We don't have a TV station. We have the radio station. And right. FYI, we are relocating the radio station off of US 41 to Bobcat Commons. We have signed that lease and we are going to be within the city of Northport and not on the outskirts barely of unincorporated Sarasota County. So the city of Northport is officially the home of WKDW radio. And we love the fact that we have anchored ourselves here for long term.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So with all of that being said, they were super impressed when I told them that you were on my radio show live streaming event and that you've stayed up to 2 hours answering questions. Not that I want to harp on transparency, but what I do want to harp on is the effort that the city is taking to push information out and why the citizens need to take responsibility in getting the information.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said earlier. If you want to have a confirmation bias and you want to be around people who feel the same way that you do, then you stay in your small circles and you sort of regurgitate the same information just around over and over. If you want to learn and get more involved about how the things really work and the why, like I said earlier, then you come out and you talk to us. But make no mistake, Chuck English said on Tuesday that he believes that this is probably the most professional staff that Northport has ever had. Let me be clear. This is by far the most professional staff that the city of Northport has ever had. And we take a lot of pride in that. So we do have a lot of subject matter experts who know what they're doing. We do have a lot of experienced, credentialed professionals in their roles in order to make decisions on behalf of the city. So we take that very seriously. And if you want to talk to us about how you feel about that, we're happy to do so. But to criticize and fuss at our team members in meetings publicly is not the way to do it. That's not what good community engagement looks like.
Well, and really just, there is such a thing as professional decorum within the meeting setting. But do you find that and I don't want to say overall, but I think overall we have a a, a great city following that is very professional and try to get things done. I'm not picking on any one person. I'm just saying that overall, when you are at a meeting, the professionalism is solid, but even the one-on-ones is very good too. Because if you come in with the idea of being social, oh shoot, it just went out of my head. But you know, with the idea of adapting to change and forward thinking, and trying to resolve an issue with a good solution driven idea,
Right.
isn't that really how people should be coming into City Hall, is find out what's going on and then try to help with the solution side of things?
Yeah, and I guess we got to be very clear here. The majority of the people that we run into, when I say we, me and the majority of the commissioners, we get a very lot of positive feedback when we're out in the public, when we're doing the events, when we're engaging the community, and we know that we're doing the right thing and going the right directions. But when you have our meetings, they're different because those are normally the time where people who are not getting what they want, they come and they make their points and try to get the commissioners to heed their voices in their decision-making process. And that's part of our democracy, and that's part of the way that it is. But when you see the same people coming and, they didn't like this project, they didn't like that project, you don't like this project. Well, what do you like? And then what do you like about the city? You can't have a problem with every single thing that the city is doing. It can't always be the city who has the problem and needs to fix something. What I'm saying is we invite people to be collaborators for solutions. And I am not here to sit and admire problems. That's not what I do. I was brought here to fix things, and that's what I try to do. So we try to go out and fix the problems that are there. We try to be inclusive and transparent, and we try to have a good time while we're doing it. I don't think that you have to work hard and not have a good time at the same time. So we try to laugh a lot and try to get things done.
Well, I have that same mindset, and a lot of citizens do. And we're not talking about any specific group. We're not talking about anybody overall, but the overall presentation that you bring to City Hall is ultimately, I think, your presentation in the door, the first initial time, you get respect by what you give, and I have always been taught that, and I've only addressed City Hall a couple times in open forum. And I've enjoyed each one of them, but they were more meaningful when I walked in the door, because I don't go there every week to pound the city. There are points that I'm trying to make at certain points throughout, and there are more citizens do that more than often enough. But
right.
There has to be the voices out there too. You're not telling people to not come to City Hall,
right?
But really, even the ones that come to City Hall that by name at this point, you're not telling them no. There are ways of carrying yourself too, right?
Correct. But the biggest takeaway from that is, to be heard is not the same thing as giving you what you want. They're not the same thing. For us to have a conversation and a dialogue about why we believe this is better than what you want, that is still you being heard without us doing what you want. Now, sometimes in those conversations, you will get what you want, because we're not right all the time, and we don't pretend to be right all the time. But the rhetoric is always, well, you never listen, and you don't listen, and you continue not to listen. These are 5 commissioners who are putting in a lot of time in these decisions that they're making. They are asking a lot of questions behind the scenes. They are doing their due diligence, doing their homework. And for them to be criticized publicly as someone who doesn't listen is not a fair representation or reflection of the board that we have. That board is doing things and moving things in leaps and bounds. And to hear criticism, pointed criticism or threatening commentary is not something we need in our community. If you have a positive and productive conversation that you would like about something that needs to be changed, they are all available. You can call them and email them. If you have something on the city side, we can talk about that too. But to me, that's not the place to try to be mean to our commissioners or our staff.
So I got a statement from Phil Stokes. He says, I'm available to discuss and debate the charter amendment with any group of citizens. Also join any of my 6 town hall uh, and charter amendment referendums on borrowing the authority, on borrowing authority. Phil Stokes, check out his Facebook page, get the dates for his town hall meetings, go and ask questions, get involved, be involved. I know that Debbie McDowell has been holding uh, these town hall meetings, and I'm glad to see other people doing the same thing. Uh, Debbie's done a great job on her reach out to the community, but she is by far not the only voice and not the only citizen uh, uh, commissioner for the citizens of Northport. There's a lot of citizens out there, and this is my moment here. I'm not reflecting on you, Jerome, at all. I want people to understand that there are 5 city commissioners. If you only choose to talk to one and you think it's the best one, fine. If you think that your voice is heard just by only one, you're absolutely wrong, because you should give the other 4 the opportunity to address your issue. And I would say, if that point, if you're not getting it done, fine, bellyache all you want and prove your point out there. But there is not one commissioner that I have found, on a personal note, that I have found that's any better than the other. But you have to communicate with all 5 in order to make that judgment call. And when you're only picking one and you're only doing one for one, and it's the only one that you think is the best, well, that's where you're putting all your eggs in one basket. I think you need to talk to all of them, because it doesn't take one vote in our city. One vote doesn't get you crap. It does collectively take 3 votes to get you anything. And I'm going to shift it back to you for a second, because I want to take this. Jerome Fletcher is ruling the roost right now. And I just want to know how many votes that you place, or how many more that you have than our commissioners, so that you can veto what they want to do.
That's a loaded question. But before I answer that question, you talked about Phil Stokes and his community meetings. They begin at Shannon Staub Library, the first 3, and they start on September the 3rd. That's a Tuesday from 6 to 7, and then October 1st, which is a Tuesday from 6 to 7, and then October the 12th on a Saturday from 2 to 3. And then his last 3 are at the Northport Library Veranda Room. And that first one is November the 4th, which is a Wednesday, 6 to 7. The second one is October 2nd, which is a Wednesday, 6 to 7. And then you have October 26th, which is a Saturday from 11 to noon. So those are his dates and times for the ones that he's going to get out there for, that should be supported as well. I do not get a vote, to answer your question. I don't need a vote. I don't do policy. We recommend policy. We make recommendations to the board. The board deserves and has a good amount of subject matter expertise that they rely upon to help them make decisions. When commissioners come into their role, they usually they normally have a main platform that they come in on, and they say, this is what's the most important thing to me. I think I could do better with the city. The city's not doing well enough in it. But most of them evolve into a well-rounded commissioner that now they care about finance, growth, budgeting, and things that they may not have thought of before. So you want someone to come in on something that they're passionate about, but we hope that they leave being passionate about everything that the city has to offer, because there's a lot to offer that we do.
So in the end, when I read posts that are out there that you've been doing things and approving things, are those the things that the commission have authorized you to do?
I only do and approve things that are within my span of control. If it's in the charter and I can do it, or in my contract and I can do it, I do it. If it's not,
go ahead.
That's it.
And you know, there are situations that come up that are just out there. How do you handle, and I'm asking this from a management, you are the city manager. Where does your responsibility cut off on changing? Is it controlling the daily operations of the city? And how does that adjust? Is it the policy that kind of changes the direction? If you're changing policy, it goes back to the commission.
Right. So when you say changes, I'm not sure what that means.
Or adjusting or enforcing. I know if you're enforcing policy that's already there, it's good. But if let's say you're enforcing policy that isn't there, that's not what you do, right? It's not within your scope, right?
Not if I can't hang my hat on a good reason to why am I doing it. What I would say is that when you do have policy and you do have day-to-day operations, and there is overlap in there somewhere at some point, you have to be able to communicate to the board, and they have to know and have the confidence in you that the intent and the outcome that you're trying to produce is in the best interest for the city and the citizens. If they don't have that trust in you, then they're always going to challenge what you're doing, and you're not going to be swimming in the same direction. You can't have a city manager doing what he wants to do, and it is not approved by the majority of the board. And at the same time, the board expects me to operate the day-to-day decisions of the city in a way that is reflective of the trust that they bestowed in me to do the right thing. And you never want to disappoint them as a body, and you want to make sure that you are always having the citizen and them first and foremost with whatever you're doing. And if you can't justify why you're doing it for the best interest of the city, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yep, I agree. So, Robin, when you spun like that to a citizen and challenge their subject matter expertise, that was from before. You're adding to the problem within our city. Is there? I thought there was a question there.
There's not a question there, right?
Yeah. Diversity is a perspective of where you find solution if one chooses to look and listen. I don't believe I've ever seen a problem communicating with Mr. Fletcher. I don't believe I've ever disrespected anyone in any way. Not my style. Right now, I'm 70-30 on the referendum, but that's policy management is the key to the passage. The policy management side of things, how would you address how the policy management side of things are handled with the referendum?
So, well, I agree with what, Chuck said. It is going to boil down to policy management, but policy management needs to be sort of taken out of that, because that's not what it's about. It's about the lack of trust in policy management. If we were being judged on what we've done in the last 3 years, there would not be a problem with policy management, because we've not violated anyone's trust in the things that we've tried to do and how we've conducted ourselves and how we continue to conduct ourselves. It boils down, do you or don't you trust the people who are in the positions to do the job that they're supposed to be doing? That is the bottom line. If the commission comes in one day and says, Jerome, you are not doing the job that we hired you to do, then they should move on and say, you know what, we're going to let you go and get someone else in the seat and have them do it. But when you're executing on the policy directives of the board that you are working for, that is the job. The policy management and what these citizens need to take comfort in are the right people in the role, so that when they put this policy, which is going to be on a piece of paper, are they going to be able to follow through and execute it and be held accountable to me as a citizen? Do I believe that? Then yes, I do. I believe that. Then I'm going to support it and move forward. If I don't, then I need to remove the people that are there that should be responsible for policy management. But the policy management is just the tool in order to get what the city deserves. It's going to be a black and white tool that's written just like it is in every other city in this country. It will exist. Are the people in place that I believe to execute on that policy management? That is the true question. And it boils down to your level of trust. And I can tell you right now, I've been here for almost 3 years. If I haven't proved to you that you can trust me by now, then you're probably not ever going to get there. I think that that's just something I have to live with. I have to know that I'm not going to please every single person, and I would kill myself if I tried to, because that's not what the job is meant to do. It's a democracy. We have to figure out the best answer and solution for the most people, and that's our daily chore, and we try to do it every single day.
Awesome. You on Facebook, please hold. This is John Rawlings, WKDW Radio 97.5 FM, saying thanks for listening in today. We are going to continue the broadcast on Facebook, Real Talk 97.5. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you on, it's on Monday with Barbara Langdon. So we've got Q&As coming up now, and City Manager Fletcher, I know that you've been gracious enough to always stay longer, so I didn't ask you if you were today, but I kind of figured you would be.
John, I could talk about this stuff all day long, and I truly believe, I've said this lately, I think that community engagement is becoming a lost art form. People don't want to be in front of people who disagree with them. People don't want to be in front of the public in ways that I think that they should. And just because I disagree with what you say and what I say doesn't mean I need to stop doing a critical function of this job, which is to be visible and to be accessible. And I'm not going to go hide in a corner because of that. We just have to understand that there's a way to talk and treat people, and that's what we should be doing. And when we step outside those boundaries, then that's when we have to change how we communicate.
So I'm going to go back to the referendum for a minute. How is a project deemed an emergency?
So we do have declarations.
By the way, I'm going to say this. That's Sean Kirkpatrick's question.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to get an official answer, but we do have situations where we are deemed under states of emergency. That is the easiest way to answer the question. But if you have a bridge that has failed and we need to repair it, and it is impacting our traffic and our transportation through the city, it could be deemed as an emergency because it is a critical part of our infrastructure. I think the other question is, well, what if you deem something an emergency that the public says is not really an emergency? I think that's where the true question is. And what I would say to answer that is, that's why when you have the debt management policy and you're able to put other things in there, you can have better details and outline what is an emergency, what isn't an emergency, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify. The ballot language that you're looking at right now in the stage and the phase that we're in right now is a very broad ballot question. It needs to be further defined. You can't do that in a ballot question. You do that in a debt management policy.
Okay. So I do have another question from Sean, but I'm going to call him Sean Morgan Center Floor Kirkpatrick so that it triggers you to remember who he is, because we've dealt with Sean at a couple of the Northport Forward events. And he is the voice of the Northport Bobcats in the announcing booth. So, and also a co-host on Bobcat Blitz that we are starting in about 2 weeks or a week, I believe, on Wednesday. But go ahead and give us a quick. I know I think it's going to be relatively the same, but the Morgan Center update as far as the floor goes.
All right. So okay. And before I answer that question, I knew this was on our website. So first of all, let me direct people. Make sure you go to our website when you have these kind of questions. We have a very extensive website with a lot of documents and a lot of education. But the official thing that we have on the website says, what does emergency mean? If the referendum is approved, the city commission could incur debt during the existence of a declared local, state, or federal emergency or disaster to remove debris from and repair or reconstruct any public infrastructure or capital facilities damaged as a direct result of the emergency or disaster. That is the official answer to what does an emergency mean, and I hope that's helpful. I think it was Sean who asked that question.
It was.
Yeah, so I hope that's helpful to you, Sean, but please check out our website. Lots of frequently asked questions. So the Morgan Center floor, we are still moving towards getting it repaired and reopened. I mean, there's not a new update to give other than we're trying to have it open as soon as we can. And right now, I think that looks like it will be like late winter, early spring. there's not a lot of new development there.
All right. So I know this is going to take most of the screen. I think it would have been better if the city would have held a public forum where the residents could have had a chance, at least a discussion back and forth with all the commissioners regarding the ULDC instead of the 3 minutes of public comment, because commissioners can't interact with the public. It makes them feel like they are not heard. All the research and questions asked of the city staff don't necessarily have a chance to be presented during commissioners' meetings. Having a one-on-one, and it cut off. I'm sorry about that, but would have been, I guess, helpful. I guess because that question was too long. Or the statement was long.
Yes. So our city staff and our city commission had tons of public forums. They had workshops. They had we had different events throughout for the ULDC from our team. Our staff was on site in many different occasions to talk about the ULDC. The commissioners, they are and have been always available to talk about the ULDC. You know, they can't meet but more than one person because at one time, because that'll violate the sunshine law. So they have to make sure that they're always respectful of that. But to say that, well, the ULDC and the 2 years that we've been working on it should have had more public forums. I'm sorry if you missed them, but the communication and the opportunities were there for you to be heard for the ULDC.
And so, you know, there was a lot of people involved in the rewrite. There were committees out there too, weren't there? With I know that the chamber was involved in and had not a hand in writing it, but at least reviewing it, and had a group of people that sat on a committee trying to help with involvement in that. It hasn't been just city driven, right?
Right. Well, I believe that there are different interest groups that have different chapters that they wanted to focus on, whether it was be it signs or, you know, commercial. There's been various groups that have been interested in this particular process because it is so broad, overarching, and affects so many of us. But you, as a citizen, have been going through this process for quite some time. This wasn't quick, fast, or overnight by anyone's, you know, imagination. So everyone has had an opportunity to plug in, to hear and communicate either to staff or to the commission based on what they feel should or shouldn't be done. Now, let's go back to what I said earlier. Just because you don't get what you want from those conversations does not give you the right to go back and say, well, someone's not listening to me because they're not doing what I want to do. That's not a fair or realistic characterization of the process.
So I know that we've got some newer businesses coming up in Welland Park. That Welland Park area is booming. Can we talk a little bit about Welland Park and its growth and what's going on there, and also why there needs to be more balance as we continue to grow as a city on our other end of town?
Yeah, so, you know, Welland Park, of course, they got the Costco that's opened recently, and, you know, they're putting Aldi's in over there. They're having, you know, 2 hospitals come over there. HCA is moving the dirt on theirs now, and SMH is in their planning process, as I said earlier. But the new homes out there, the Welland Park Mattamy Home staff, Rick Severance, John Lisinski, are just awesome individuals who are not stopping the vision of making Welland Park the biggest and best master plan community in the country. And we have to applaud them for that. But they continue to bring in a diversity of options over there. Eating options are constantly appearing. And now they're about to put 2 hotels over there. One is a Holiday Inn, and another one will be a hotel that connects to the Brave Stadium. And what that does, and what we want to do is, as we also bring a regional park over there that will be a huge draw for sports and youth sports in our city, in our area. We just want to keep growing and expanding on it to improve the quality of life so that not only the people in Welland Park have what they want and need, because that's what drew them to live in that area, but we can't take our eye off Legacy Northport either. where we talk about, you know, the YMCA that's coming over on that side. We're talking about the different stores that we want to come on Toledo, Blade and Price in that Coke Bottle Lake area behind Pink Tequila. You know, we're working on making that a sort of a walkable downtown. There are areas and opportunities on both sides to make improvements and to keep the city growing, and we're not stopping one for the other. We can do both, and we have more things planned in the future for both sides of the city.
So I have Rick Severance August 30th coming on the live streaming radio show on Real Talk to discuss Welland Park, its vision, phase 2, phase 3, that is in the downtown region. And he's actually redirecting his presentation that you had mentioned to me. And he is actually taking that from a builder's perspective, and he is now going to focus on the citizenry perspective and bring that live streaming here to Real Talk Radio. So if you're going to listen on the radio show that day, my suggestion would be to chime into Real Talk Radio 97.5 on Facebook or WKDW Radio on Facebook and watch the full-blown presentation. That is going to be a great chance for everybody to get one updated on what's happening at Welland Park by Rick Severance, and also the vision of the future of the downtown area by Rick. And I'm super excited to have him on. I think it's going to be awesome. And he was extremely positive about being part of this and presenting back to the citizens of Northport. What is your interaction with Rick Severance, and how do you feel like that whole relationship has been built?
So I think, you know, in the 20 some odd years I've been in public service, you know, you run across a lot of people, a lot of developers, and, you know, some of them just truly only care about their bottom line and they don't care about your community. Rick Severance is the exact opposite. He is someone who cares about not only his brand, but he cares about the city of Northport. He cares about making money for his side of the fence, but he also knows and cares and is respectful about our limitations and what we need in order to make sure that we preserve the quality of life that we're seeking as well. And that kind of relationship and personality leads you to do good things together. And the partnership and collaboration that the city of Northport and Welland Park has done, I'm not sure people will ever truly appreciate it because it's so massive. The Welland Park action and activity over there has put the city on the map and in people's front windshield, so to speak. And it just rises all of Northport up at the same time, because whatever brings you here to the city of Northport, whether it's something that Rick did or something that's being done on the legacy side, we just want you to enjoy your time here. We want you to be a part of this community. We want you to be happy here. We want you to give back to your community in whichever way that you see fit. It could be your time. It could be nonprofit. It could be whatever makes you tick. But please, just understand that Rick Severance is a powerful reason as to why the city of Northport is taking off in leaps and bounds, and we should be grateful. And I'm glad to say he's a great partner to work with.
And I'm trying to figure out Pam on Pam Kotar's. I realized there was plenty of opportunity to ask questions at those city meetings and tours. The fact is we didn't reach a majority of residents regarding this issue. It's not their fault if they are not working and don't have time to do the amount of research as others did. Pam, are you talking about the referendum?
She's talking about the ULDC.
ULDC, and there you go. But she also on the end of her last question, it was the workshops and Northport United tours to give the residents a chance to interact directly with the commission. The ULDC, that seems to be her her sticking point now as far as getting the information out and having open dialogue. If I've got that right, Pam, just give me a yes, you do on the comment. But how long have we been working on the ULDC?
At least 2 years, and I've been here for almost 3.
Yeah, so two years, and I know I've been talking about it for at least the last 6 months on the show or longer, because we've brought it up on multiple occasions. And I seriously was involved with the chamber, and sat in on some of those meetings. So I think there were plenty of opportunities. Now I will agree with her that the working class, I think that's our the thorn in the side. That's the hardest. It's the hardest group of people. And I've been a volunteer. I've been the athletic booster president at the high school in 07 and 08. I volunteered at different programs. I'm a volunteer at the radio station. Been doing that for 7 years now, believe it or not, knock on wood. You know, I think the hardest thing to do, and I know Pam is going to agree. I know Robin's going to agree. Chuck is going to agree. All the listeners are out there are going to agree. We've got Northport Rising, who's trying to get involved. We got Northport Forward, who tries to get volunteers and get involved. We've got the Kiwanis group that is nonprofit and trying to get involved. We've got churches that are doing food banks and different things. They're always trying to get more people involved. I think it's the hardest thing to do is get the communication out. And I think that's what I addressed with you earlier, is all the attempts to reach even the working class. They don't have to have a specific time to be online. They can check out the website. They can go to the Facebook page. They can do the research. They can get a hold of some of these other groups that, like Northport Forward, who does all these things and does the research and responds back. But how? And it's a tough question, because the working class, I'm sorry, I still work full time too. But when I was the working class and I was driving away from my city, which I was doing back when my boys were in school, it was difficult. There's no joke. It's a difficult thing to be 2 full-time parents with kids in school and doing sports and trying to keep involved in the politicking of the city. And my suggestion would be, put your nose down and read a little bit before you go to bed. Try to keep up the best you can and just make the wisest votes you can. But any form of activity within your city is better than none. And find the target conversations out there that affect you, because it's local government. The local government, and you can chime in here, Jerome, but the local government is where things are going to change that like directly affect you within the year. Federal government's not your direct connection. So if you're wasting your time on the federal side, and I don't mean to waste, it's just it's the time better spent, maybe.
More impactful, more impactful, because we do care about what happens at the federal level, because it all trickles down to us.
It does.
But when you talk about, the local government and its ability to notify people about what's going on, if we go back to the original, her question, it would be very hard to educate every single person about every single thing that this city does all the time. And, the rules that they have in place when you do something, which is going back to her point on the ULDC, they have guidelines in there that you must do in order to meet the thresholds. And when you meet those thresholds and you do things that are in addition to those thresholds, and then someone comes back and says, well, you didn't do more than that, or you should have done more than that. Is it a coincidence that the people who want you to do more are normally the people who are complaining about what you've done? Is that a coincidence or no? No, it's not. It's the people who are not getting what they want, saying that we want you to do more because that's what we want, because we're not getting what we want. There's no coincidence there. It is by nature that the one who is not getting what they believe we should be doing are the ones saying, well, you're not doing more to reach more people. It's not a coincidence.
David Duvall. Hey, bud. He's got a quick question. David Duvall, please explain who Northport Rising is. Well, here's the beauty of Northport Rising. it's just another group within our city that's up and coming. They're getting involved. And I mention them because it's another way for people to reach out and get connected to another group of people. And if you're going to do that and you're going to reach out, you should do your research on the group of people that you're getting involved with. And
True.
if you agree with their mindsets, then dig in deeper and get more involved. Or if you don't always agree with them, get involved with them anyway, because there needs to be, and I love this, because I'm going to use Chuck's favorite word.
Yes.
Chuck's favorite word is diversity. There has to be diversity in the conversation. So, I love to promote these groups out, because they're, especially the new groups that aren't tainted with anything. They're trying to be inclusive. There are groups out there that aren't, that I can name right now, and I'm not going to, because they don't deserve my breath anymore. But find a group of people that, yes, while you want to believe they're like-minded, I love having like-minded, but I also like a challenge of me being able to adapt and change my mind. And I think we all have to learn, stop being so damn selfish, and be able to make some adjustments. And there are a lot of us out there. I've had discussions with Robin. I've had discussions with Chuck. We don't always agree. I've had discussions with David. We don't always agree. But then the beautiful thing is I'd still go have dinner with them. I'd still go have drinks with them. I have coffee with Chuck, and we have a good time. We argue and we banter, and we say goodbye to each other, and can't wait to have coffee again. So I think we all need to learn that it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have moments. It's just better if you can have moments with each other and go, okay, we're good. And there's a better day tomorrow.
I've always told people, how you disagree will always define your relationship with that person. You can disagree with people all day long. It all depends on how you do it and the manner you do it. Back to Mr. Duvall's question, the Northport Rising, go to their website, northportrising.com. And they have the information there. They're a group that's set up to help promote the fact that we need to get transparent information out to the community regarding this important referendum that's coming up on November the 5th. So please go to their website. They share information just like we share information about what the value, what the meaning, and the importance of this situation that is facing us all.
And it's, the whole thing, I think, is that any of the groups that are out there that are trying to, I guess, even steer their own agenda, they're the rezoning group. Not necessarily a bad group if you're affected by that, but understand that the group is probably targeted at stopping rezoning. How about a group of people that understand how the rezoning is going to help you adapt to the change? Because I think the city's going to get rezoned, and I don't know that anybody's going to be able to stop it. But I also think that there has to be, with the rezoning, and I know I'm going to make some people mad, but with the rezoning has to be some adaptive ways to either keep your property in its current status or sell it later, but have opportunities to open it up to maintain your value. And because Price Boulevard, for example, when we widen Price Boulevard, if we don't change some of those houses and the rezoning, property values drop. I had one in Port Charlotte and was on a main drag, and they took the trees down. So holy cow, when you take the trees down of another piece of property behind you and you're on a main drag and now you're exposed to massive traffic, it instantly dropped the property value $30,000 to $40,000.
Right.
And if you have a different way of strategizing that, I think people who are living on those major corridors need to start, instead of panicking, and I don't mean this disrespectful, I mean this with a business mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at your property as, oh my God, it's over, it's done. No, your property value is probably going to maintain, but it's going to open opportunities. But we have on 41 right now, we have mixed use properties that have been within that zone for a long time. And there's more traffic on US 41 than there is in the neighborhood. So it's and those houses aren't even converted to businesses yet. And they're still mixed use. So I don't think the rezoning is, at least it's not going to happen within the next probably 10 or 15 years. But it's a strategic plan for the future growth of the city, isn't it?
It is, but what's the fastest way for me to get you on my side of things is to paint a picture of fear that I want you to join me with. They're going to harm you. So that's the narrative that is put out there in situations where people disagree with what we're doing. And that's how they build from one person to the next person. But like you said, whether it's not going to happen tomorrow or making sure that you have the facts, it's the getting to the information. Go ask the subject matter experts why they did what they did and how it's going to have the long-term effects on myself and my city and my neighborhood, as opposed to listening to people who don't like something, who want to get you on board with their bandwagon. Do your research. Talk to the right people.
All right. So I'm going to post these. I'm going to post this. And Robin, I'm okay. I'm here. You lost me, John. If you continue to allow or ignore comments that should not be directed personally towards a citizen. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the other one. Sorry, John. I am not going to let the personal dig that was made publicly challenging my expertise in various subjects go. I would expect a public apology. And that, I believe, is directed not towards me.
She's not getting an apology from me.
Okay. So that's where I'm at. So John Parker, fear, false evidence that appears real. That's his definition of fear.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I think in the topic of the rezoning, and I'm gonna say it from a resale value. I think being able to take houses like that and have, as a realtor, have the ability to explain to a resident who wants to sell their property, if you keep it a single family home, you've got to find somebody that pretty much comes from New York, who loves traffic, who thinks this is a decrease. And I'm not picking on New Yorkers, by the way. I've been to New York City or Chicago, all the busy sounds. So it's all those things matter. And I think open it up, 4-lane roads and different areas to the mixed use will allow business owners to come in, small mom pop stuff, hair salons, maybe a little breakfast restaurant in a small community. They have them down in Fort Myers and different areas, and they were some of my favorite places to go, and they were right in the neighborhood, but they were houses converted that were on main drags, and I think it's going to give opportunity versus harm. If you just left it as single family residence along all those roads, I think you'd be pleasant or not pleasantly surprised, but very unhappy if the city didn't make some adjustments so that business opportunity and growth of the property that you did purchase didn't have a chance to prosper from that change. So while I think there's good, bad, and ugly with every decision, I think anybody who's owning the properties there should kind of look at this through a different lens and look at the opportunity to expand their pocketbook with different opportunity within the buying power that the city is adapting to try to help, I think, stabilize the housing market on those streets. And that's just my point of view from a sales side, on a city side, is that what the attempt is to do with some of these rezoning issues?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was very well said, what you said. And, as it relates to how we change our footprint and how we navigate through it by making sure that we have the best options available to us at hand. That's why you do a rewrite the way that we did at the size that we did. Our city was lacking the ability to have its rules and regulations be in alignment with state and federal law that allows us to make sure that we grow in the right direction. But at the end of the day, the growth that we're doing and the plans that we're making, I'm coming right back to the same word. If you don't trust the people who are doing it, you're not going to trust what they're doing, period. And the thought process that we're out to harm you because we believe, based on either experience, education, or however we got our credentials, that we are driving the city in the right direction. If you're never going to believe that, you're never going to believe that. And if you have an opinion and you have a conversation that we agree to disagree on, you're not always going to lose those conversations, but you're not always going to win those conversations either. So I think that the option has to be there just to have regular dialogue.
So, question from Chuck, Mr. Fletcher. So you believe the city staff are the only subject matter experts and there are no others in our community?
I never said there were no other subject matter experts in the community. What I said is the citizens questioning our subject matter experts in a meeting and saying that they are not is not fair. And I will stand up for them every time that I hear that, because it's disrespectful. The people who have subject matter expertise in this city, you bring that and we listen to you based on where you got it from. But you can't be a subject matter expert on everything when you don't like everything and then say, well, I know about this and I know about that, and I know about this and I know about that. You can't. It's not possible. I can't even do that. I have 20 different subject matter experts around me. They can't even argue that they're subject matter experts on something that is not within their direct portfolio. So how can you be a subject matter expert? The ones that are the constantly, and I'm not talking about you, Chuck, the constant complaining about, well, I don't like this topic. I don't like that topic. I don't like this topic. I don't like that topic. Oh yes, I'm a subject matter expert on all of it. It's not possible. It's not realistic.
Yeah. So, I hope we're done with that. If there's any other questions,
we're far from done with that, but okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. But are any other questions for our city manager? Please post them. I would be more than happy to put your question up. And as you can tell, I'm putting everybody's questions up, no matter what they are. I'm looking back to see if I missed anybody along the way. But David, do you have a specific question for our city manager? I know that I believe we answered the one. So at this point, I don't have another question coming at you, and it's 4:32. What would you tell the citizens of Northport to be watching out for the remainder of the week?
The remainder of the week?
Yeah, we got some events out there.
Well, first of all, let's get through the weekend and make sure that we don't have any flooding from the storm. If we get past the storm, the upcoming week of opportunities, they're just opportunities to get engaged. They're opportunities to come out, ask your questions, get them answered by the people who are directly on the front line, listen to the vision of where we're going, why we're doing what we're doing, and be a part of the process. That's all we're looking for, is for you to come out and be a part of the process.
Okay, Robin, if you've got a specific question, put it up there. No questions at this point, John. Thank you, David Duvall. I believe I put a lot of your questions up, Robin. I really do. I think most of yours are statements, and we can go back and read those. let's see. I'm sorry about that. I'm just trying to look at my phone too at the same time. You know, we've got Northport Forward. We've got everything up. No, I want my issue addressed. Okay. Outstanding discussion. And great job, gentlemen. Pete Emmerich. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate you. Obviously, I'm not addressing something Robin wanted me to address, but I think I tried. But anyway, we've got Northport Forward on Thursday out at the American Legion in the Estates. We've got the debate at Shannon Staub Library at 6 o'clock. Make sure you Gmail the group, and that would be teamnorthportcan@gmail.com. It's the 13th at 6 p.m. Check out that debate. It's going to be live on the air too, live here. We can get that out there. Also, the Northport Forward event will be live here also, and you can watch that. We're trying to do everything we can with getting that information out. And John Parker said, thank you for tomorrow's Warm Mill Springs Park free admission day for Sarasota County residents. And that's something else to be talked about. Warm Mill Springs, any updates there?
I don't even think we talked about it at all, did we?
We did not.
Oh, wow. That might be a first. Yeah. So we will be bringing back to the commission when they get back off of recess in September, the results of the last direction they gave us, which was to come back with how much it would take to restore and or hurricane proof the 3 buildings. And then they have to make a decision on, they want to keep all 3, keep the cyclorama, harden the cyclorama. We have roughly $9 million left in there. And what that money needs to cover is it needs to cover the infrastructure that needs to be put out there to get it off of the well and make sure that that's running out there. And it needs to be able to handle some of the needs of keeping whatever the commission decide on the buildings. Now, if we get the borrowing authority that would allow us to actually, use some revenue bonds to actually, do that, that would be a great way to help out Warm Middle Springs. But that's a little bit further down the line, but we're trying to make sure that we do what we committed to do. And that was to make sure that we show the citizens that we care about the springs, and we got to make sure that the 20 acres are taken care of ASAP to have it be a place where we all can be proud to go and say that this is something that's a jewel of our community. And it has not been treated as such before now. And we got to start doing it as soon as possible.
So David Duvall just gave me a quick update. It's not really a debate. All participating will be answering the same 7 questions, but not a debate. So that's interesting. So that's thanks David for that. I appreciate you on that. So I've got, let me check here real quick. Just flew over it. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to leave it right there. And, citizens get involved, citizens stay sharp, citizens, attend these meetings, get involved at whatever level you can. It is very important that you get out and vote. When it comes down to the fact that the city itself is availing itself like they are, please get out, do the Q&As, be part of the community, get involved and get out and vote, and really tell people they need to get out and vote. We are 97,000 strong. And the impact of voting is like amazing when Tallahassee looks at it. and you just laughed, so I'm going to go here for a second, and I'm going to let you end the show. But the importance of a huge turnout for voting reflects huge at Tallahassee on how the citizens are looking at things and how Tallahassee looks at us and leadership looks at us. Is that not important for the citizens to hear?
It is, because that's the one way that we can maximize the power of our growth. You know, when you go vote and they see the numbers there, they're less likely to deny us things that we need. It's more likely to open doors that would have been closed. And they know that we in South County now, we are the strength of the county with our growth and our people and the businesses and the commercial that are coming to South County of Sarasota County. It's a very strong position to be in, but we have to take advantage of that position by doing the things that we have the right to do, which is, like you said, the right to vote and the right to govern within ourselves, which goes back to being able to take care of ourselves with the voter referendum. The last thing they want is for us to be knocking on that door come November the 6th, if it fails, and say, hey, we need you to intervene with helping us take care of the city. That's not going to be a good position for any of us to be in. And I think we can avoid it if we just make sure that we vote and focus on what's most important, which is sort of taking care of the city. So I'm off the soapbox, but I appreciate it.
Awesome. So one last thing from Robin, and I'm going to let you address it. If you're going to allow a citizen to be personally insulted with a dig, then you are now going to lose more of an audience. I guess that's at me. Go ahead. I don't know.
I was going to say something, but you said it was that you. My point is this: you cannot be someone who comes in and insults our staff based on what you believe to be your subject matter expert knowledge and challenge theirs in a public meeting. That is not fair. It is not ever going to be acceptable. And if you have that much subject matter expertise on all these different topics that you don't like, how is that possible? Not one topic. We're talking about various topics. How is that possible? It's not possible. You cannot be a subject matter expert on everything and say that we need to listen to everything that you say.
Okay. I never insulted your staff or anybody. So.
Okay, I'm not gonna answer any more of her statements, but
that's all right.
She did insult our staff because she even apologized for doing it after she did it. So don't say you didn't do it, otherwise you wouldn't have apologized. But I'm done with her questions. I'm not answering none of her questions anymore.
All right, so I'm good. This is John Rawlings with Real Talk Radio. Here's a good one to end the show on. Mr. Chuck English. My grandpa used it. If you don't vote, don't bitch. So,
amen.
Yeah. So I get out the vote, go vote, do your research the best you can, but really just hang in there, and things are going to, and I say this all the time, things are going to turn out the way they're supposed to turn out. We just have to work around the turnout. And what I'd like to see is us not having to work around the turnout to vote, because turning out the vote is a big deal for recognition all the way up into Tallahassee for us to get paid attention to. The stronger our voting population, the more they will pay attention to the largest city in Sarasota County.
In population and size.
Yes, it is. Big time. So, you can support your city by getting out and voting. And early, I always say early and often. So do your thing and hang in there. And we'll talk to you guys soon. This is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio, 97.5 Real Talk, and City Manager Jerome Fletcher. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, sir.